it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Daboll has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Daboll to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 2 of a Football Friday Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Joe Ranieri. I am Ben Stevens. 2 more hours to go up until 11 a.m. Eastern. It is a full-blown Football Friday. We continue our game-by-game preview of the entirety of the NFL Week 4 Sunday slate. Week 4 already underway. Last night, the Cowboys hold on 20-15 in MetLife against the New York Giants. We preview every game for Week 4 and that Sunday slate. We'll give you a pick 6, our best bets, in our third and final hour. A huge college football weekend. It's week number 5. 4 ranked versus ranked matchups on a Saturday. 2 really good games, a doubleheader on this Friday. And, of course, Joe, in our third and final hour as well. We'll make sure you are ready and know everything on the line this weekend for the final weekend of the MLB regular season.
Yeah, it's getting to be good. It's kind of put up a shut-up time in both college and the NFL, too, isn't it? As divisional as well as conference games are about to take place here this week. We're going to learn a little something about a lot of teams really quickly here by Monday.
Yes, we certainly are. All right, let's continue our deep dive and preview of the entirety of the Week 4 Sunday slate. And, Joe, one of my favorite games, especially in the early window, in Lambeau Field on Sunday afternoon. The Packers and the Vikings. Green Bay undefeated with Malik Willis under center. They are 2-1. Minnesota enters Week 4, one of the 5 remaining unbeatens around the National Football League. Sam Darnold and the Vikes, a perfect 3-0. The Packers, a 3-point home favorite. Total now at 43.5. I want to ask you the question from this perspective first and foremost. Jordan Love, back at practice for a second straight week, was inactive last week in Nashville, limited in practice. His status still a little bit up in the air. Do you think Green Bay, being a full field goal favorite at home against Minnesota, is an indication, Joe, that Jordan Love plays and starts for the Pack on Sunday?
It's interesting. Are we in one of these spots here? Because things could not have gone better for Minnesota so far, right? So is this a sell spot here for Minnesota now heading to Green Bay? We've already seen that Green Bay, Malik Willis, Jordan Love, they're still playing defense at a very high level here, Ben.
Very high.
And, boy, can you tell that Jeff Affley is now the defensive coordinator of Green Bay here? Because this doesn't look like the same old Green Bay Packers defense that forces guys like Jordan Love to have to drop 35 points a game in order to win. They don't feel like that right now. Both these defenses have been playing at a very, very high level here. This is a tough spot, but I am always going to side if Love plays here, and it looks like he's going to. I'm always going to side with Green Bay in Green Bay under a field goal, Ben. I don't know how you don't.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Joe. I wonder what this line would look like if we get official confirmation that Jordan Love is going to play. Is it 3.5? Is it 4? Does it get to 4.5? That I'm not entirely sure. Let's say it's Malik Willis. Does it drop to 2? 1.5. Could the Packers be a home underdog? The reason I asked, Joe, is because the first 2 games with Malik Willis, the Packers have won outright as a dog, even at home against Indianapolis in week 2, and last week on the road in Nashville against the Titans. This, in fact, if the line holds with Green Bay as the favorite side, would be the first time the Packers are as a favorite so far this season. So what about Minnesota? They're not only 3-0, Joe, one of the 5 remaining unbeaten straight up. They're one of the 2 remaining unbeatens at the end of week 3. That is perfect against the number. 3-0 ATS alongside the Steelers, who we'll talk about in just a moment. In the last 2 wins for Minnesota, both against the spread and straight up, as a home underdog against the 49ers and the Texans, looking like the 4 better side in both games.
Yeah, it's unique here, right? And I think the whole Sam Darnold situation, Ben, is what people are having a hard time wrapping their head around. Because we know Sam Darnold. He's not a rookie. He's not his second year, third year. He's been one of the best stories to start the season under Kevin O'Connell's offense here. And I've always said it, been a big believer that coaching matters in the NFL, and Sam Darnold is proof of that. But what happens when you have a defense and Sam Darnold's on the road in the elements that we've seen Sam Darnold explode under pressure before? I'm wondering if this defense of Green Bay can at least start exposing some of the warts that we know are already there for him.
So I would say the 3 points is actually baked in with Jordan Love. If we've missed some official confirmation, my apologies.
I agree.
But the props are out. 240.5 for Jordan Love for Sunday. That's interesting that the odds makers on FanDuel feel pretty certain Jordan Love is going to play in this game. I would say it's trending toward that way as well. Just surprised to know there's already a passing yards prop out for Sammy D, 227.5. Darnold leads the National Football League after 3 weeks with 8 passing touchdowns. His passing touchdowns prop, 1.5. The over has some plus money. All right, let's get to another divisional duel on Sunday that maybe entering week 3 looked like it would be a time to really learn about the LA Chargers. Now it seems as though they will be climbing uphill. It's the Chargers and the Chiefs inside SoFi on Sunday afternoon in that late afternoon window, 4:25 p.m. Eastern time. Full touchdown spread in favor of KC. The Chiefs undefeated through 3 weeks. Yeah, that makes a little bit of sense, and 2-1 against the spread, of course, favored in all 3 games. The reason, Joe, the line is at a touchdown, the ankle injury to Justin Herbert, optimistic he plays, nothing confirmed as of this moment, but it's not even just Justin Herbert, it's the guys protecting the quarterback who's a little bit hobbled and probably less than 100%. We do not expect to see Joe Alt, the rookie right tackle. We do not expect to see Rashawn Slater, the young left tackle for LA as well. Not a great sign when your quarterback's not 100% and his mobility might be in question, and your 2 bookends of your offensive line against the solid Chiefs defense to start this year are also injured.
Yeah, no, I mean, not a good situation in any way, shape, or form, Ben. But, you know, these are the kinds of spots, right, that we often see crazy things happening. And again, divisional matchups here where teams know each other very, very well. Yeah. I mean, this isn't Harbaugh's first rodeo. I don't think the plan changes. We know what the Chargers are going to have to do if they're going to beat the Chiefs. They've got to hold on to the ball. They've got to be able to run the ball, and they've got to have success in the red zone here. If they can do that, they've got a shot of covering at least to stay within the touchdown, Ben. And that's really, if you're thinking about the Chargers, that's what you're expecting here. So is Taylor Heineke, do you have enough confidence in him to be able to hand off left, hand off right? I think Harbaugh is the right coach with a banged up team like this to give or at least take the 7.5 points?
Listen, the Chargers were the dog last week in Pittsburgh, did not win, did not cover. They were held to not many rushing yards. J.K. Dobbins, who had $130 in his first two games, only 44 last week against Pittsburgh. KC will look to stifle that offense as well, because even if Justin Herbert were 100%, running the football would be key for this Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh-led offense. Just so you know, in terms of that total, 39.5. When's the last time we saw Kansas City playing a football game with a total sub 40? Last week it was a matchup of the unbeatens in the Steel City. The Chargers lost. They're 2-1, did not cover. The Steelers remain undefeated, a perfect 3-0 straight up and 3-0 against the number. In fact, the Steelers have covered in their last two games as a favorite. I will make a point on this game. There's a young quarterback on the other side with Anthony Richardson and a focus on the rookie QBs. Up next, live right here on TEL. It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
One of the 5 remaining unbeatens at the end of week 3. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers just keep winning football games under Mike Tomlin. Not just 3-0 straight up, but 3-0 against the spread for the Steelers, including Joe in their last 2 as the favored side. They're a slight favorite in Indianapolis on Sunday. And here was the point I wanted to bring up on Pittsburgh. When we think Mike Tomlin, we think never a losing season, never less than 8 wins. If they're an underdog, boy, is it going to be a gritty football game where the Steelers are going to keep it close. But since the end of the Big Ben era in the Steel City, Ben Roethlisberger's final year, 2021. So since the start of 2022, the Steelers are the best favorite team in the NFL. They have the best cover percentage as the favored side. 10-5 against the spread. Again, it's a 1.5 spread. It's a virtual pick 'em. It's minus 124 on the money line. Will Pittsburgh leave Indianapolis on Sunday still unblemished?
I don't think so, Ben. I mean, the Steelers listen, you can only play, right, the teams that are in front of you. But when you look at what the Steelers have so far here. That week one, they played Kirk Cousins in his first game off an Achilles, right? And a new offense. They played Bo Nix in his second career NFL start. And then a banged-up Justin Herbert, who ended up getting banged up again in the game and left with an ankle injury, was their third win. And they have basically handcuffed Justin Fields to the point where they're not letting him or putting him in a spot in which at any way are they going to allow him to lose the game with his arm. But I'll say this. Anthony Richardson's going to have to beat him with his arm, and I do think he is more than capable at home in this spot in a desperate Colts team to be able to do just that on this secondary of Pittsburgh. I don't know that they're going to run on him, but I bet you Richardson, with his legs and his arm, is more than capable of beating a Steelers team that you have to sell high on at this point in the season.
And that's what this line feels like, right? Indianapolis just 1-2 this year. They did edge out Chicago last week. But Anthony Richardson beating a team with his arm, we haven't seen it yet. He's the only quarterback to start a game this year in the National Football League with a completion percentage less than 50%, 49.3. He has thrown 3 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, multiple INTs each of the past 2 weeks. And the Steelers, they've been good defensively, the best scoring defense in the NFL, the only team allowing less than 10 points per game. We'll focus on the rookie quarterbacks now, and the Offensive Rookie of the Year favorite is Jaden Daniels. He has been sensational for Washington. The Commanders on a 2-game win streak, but a 3.5-point underdog in the desert against the Arizona Cardinals. This just the second game under Jonathan Gannon in what will now be game 21 with Gannon as the head coach, that Arizona will be booked as the favorite. Week 2 against the Rams, a slight favorite. They made good on the confidence from the odds makers. How close is this game out in Glendale on Sunday?
Well, close enough that if you're going to get a hook, you might as well take it. But really, the play here, Ben, to me, is all about the over in this one. If we're expecting any sort of a semblance of defense here, we are sadly mistaken. Washington's offense has not turned the ball over through 3 games, and they haven't even punted in the last 2 games. So Jaden Daniels is playing out of his mind. They're not asking him to do a whole lot. Luke McCaffrey is just a unbelievable get here. I think that there's going to be a ton with Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other side, and that hookup. I think there is points, and more points coming. And crazy enough, Ben, it still feels like both these teams going to come down to a field goal at the end of the day. It would not shock me.
It is the highest total of the weekend at 50.5. But, Joe, I would agree. The Commanders are 2-1. But they did allow more than 30 last week against the Bengals. And had the Giants had Greg Joseph in week 2, Washington is probably 1-2, but they did not. They just allowed a lot of touchdowns. That is my point. These are 2 of 14 teams around the NFL allowing more than 21 points per game. The Cardinals 21.3, Washington 29.3 points per game. They gave up 37 against Tampa in week number 1. I think we will see some points. The Commanders' defense, not great against the pass. Keep an eye on Kyler Murray. Also keep an eye on the quarterbacks utilizing their legs. We know both can do that very well. Their yardage props are not out just yet, but Jaden Daniels, a couple of rushing scores already this year. 2, at least 33 yards on the ground in all 3 games. Kyler Murray, 45 rushing yards in all 3 games for Arizona. Joe, this is another compelling number in my estimation in the Windy City on Sunday. The Bears, a 3-point home favorite against the Rams. Total 40.5. Of course, the Rams is near a touchdown underdog last week at home, pulling off an upset nobody saw coming, injured, shorthanded against San Francisco. The Bears have only been a favorite once at home, week 1, not because of Caleb Williams, but the defense and special teams. They did win by a touchdown and covered against Tennessee. What do you make of this matchup in Chicago on Sunday?
So the Rams, keep this in mind, the Rams have had 11 different players take snaps on the offensive line so far this year. No Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua, and yet Matt Stafford is throwing the ball all over the yard, finding open wide receivers, and led them to that comeback, improbable comeback against the 49ers here. The Bears defense, we know, has been obviously the story and the reason why they've been competitive in some games. But again, just like we talked about, it's going to be up to Richardson to use his arm to beat him. Well, it's going to be up to Caleb Williams to finally find a receiver, and I believe Keenan Allen is on track to return this week for him.
Yeah.
But he's going to have to beat him with his arm because everyone else can throw on the Rams. If he can't, we got serious. And by the way, Chicago don't win this game. It's time to talk about hot seat with Eberflus rather quickly.
Big time, Joe. Big time, because the coaching staff might be holding back their number one overall pick. Both quarterbacks passing yards prop at 220.5. We'll talk more rookie quarterbacks in just a minute. Caleb Williams did throw for 362 last week and his first 2 touchdowns of his NFL career, but his second consecutive game of multiple interceptions. Matthew Stafford leading his 36th game-winning drive of his NFL career last week to pull off the improbable upset over the 49ers. Plenty more to come around Sunday. Next. It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind L.A., that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Of our 3 starting rookie quarterbacks around the National Football League, let's get to our third, who is a hefty underdog once again in his matchup on Sunday. The Denver Broncos and Bo Nix on the road in MetLife against the New York Jets. 7.5-point spread in favor of Gang Green, a relatively low total of 39.5. Of course, it was the Broncos last week, utilizing the strong trend we have seen this year as a 5.5-point underdog going into Tampa and winning outright against the Buccaneers to pick up victory number 1 of this season. First career win for Bo Nix. 7.5-point spread, Joe, in favor of the New York Jets. Is it too large in favor of Gang Green?
No, on the other side, it is not large enough, Ben, as far as I am concerned here. Listen, Jet fandom aside here, this is a absolute brutal spot for the Denver Broncos and a rookie quarterback. You're asking this kid to go on the road for a second week now taking on a Jets team who has extra rest, mind you, because they played last Thursday night against New England and smashed them. And I got news for you. This is the game that feels like it's going to mimic very much what we got in that New England Jets game.
Yeah.
They are going to struggle to move the ball. Denver, Aaron Rodgers is going to get more comfortable. Just the eye test tells me, Ben, that this is a Jets team with a Hall of Fame quarterback with all the weapons in the world that is getting more and more comfortable. And the defense is going to make life for a rookie quarterback going on the road for a second week. And I think, 3 out of 4 weeks now? Not a good spot here for Denver. I think the Jets win rather easily at home in this one.
Garrett Wilson's receiving yards prop seems a little bit light, 54.5. Keep an eye on the rookie running back out of Wisconsin for Gangrene. That is Braylon Allen. But to your point, Joe, this does seem to be a spot the New York Jets take advantage. Again, we mentioned it 17 times now. An underdog of 5.5 points or greater so far in this season, including last night, 15-2 against the spread. Are those underdogs one of the two non-covers? The New York Jets as a 6.5-point favorite against the Patriots on Thursday night last week, winning comfortably 24-3. Entering last week, none of the rookie QBs had thrown a passing touchdown. Both Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams did throw two. Bo Nix still yet to throw a touchdown, but the good news for Denver last week, 0 interceptions for the first time in his NFL career. He had thrown 2 in each of his first 2 games. Here are the props for the rookies that we will see on display on Sunday. Daniels, 215.5. He is the Rookie of the Year favorite offensively, followed by Malik Neighbors, followed by Marvin Harrison Jr. I'll talk about MHJ a little bit later on in our Pick 6, and you can see the rather humble numbers for Bo Nix as Joe described. Can Andy Dalton make it 2 in a row? Are the Bengals about to start 0-4? The odds makers don't expect that to be the case. The Bengals a 4.5-point favorite, Joe, on the road in Charlotte against the Panthers on Sunday. Revenge game for Andy Dalton. 47.5 is the total. What's your feeling on this one?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we know it. 2% of teams in the Super Bowl era have started 0-3 and made the playoffs. But if there's a year that a team can buck that trend, it's this year, and it's the Bengals. Why? Because we have an extra game as well as an extra playoff spot, Ben. And as far as I'm concerned, Cincinnati is going to figure it out with Lou Anarumo defensively. Offensively, I don't even think we've gotten Cincinnati's best. I still think offensively this is a top 5 to 8 offensive team in the NFL. I think they'll have no problem putting up points on anybody. I have faith that the defense will figure it out. And with an extra game and an extra team in the postseason, and they haven't played anybody in their own division yet, I got no problem. I think this is a gift at this number, and the only reason you're getting it is because they're 0-3. I think Bengals in a rout.
It's got to be a gift at this number, frankly, if Cincy even wants to sniff a winning record or a playoff berth in the AFC. The Bengals, one of 3 winless teams after 3 weeks. That also includes the Jacksonville Jaguars, a divisional game where Houston is laying 6.5 at home against Jacksonville. Often difficult to cover near a touchdown spread in a divisional matchup. What gives in H-Town?
Yeah, what gives is Jacksonville here is very much a live dog in this game here, Ben. Yeah. There's a lot to say about this game.
We'll talk about it more on the other side as we continue our deep dive and our breakdown of each and every game, all 13 on this NFL Week 4 Sunday slate. Up next here on the Early Line.
it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display. My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
All right before the break, Joe Ranieri told you that Jacksonville, one of the 3 winless teams left remaining in the National Football League after 3 weeks, could be a live dog this week in Houston against the Texans. Houston, a 6.5-point home favorite in this AFC South divisional showdown. How live of a dog, Joe Ranieri? One of those 5.5-point underdogs or greater that will cover a number, or one of the 5.5-point underdogs or greater that might win outright?
Yes, to both of those questions here, Ben. This is a unbelievably overreaction from the drubbing that Jacksonville got, the 47-10 loss in primetime against Buffalo. Listen, the Jags closed as a 5-point dog in Buffalo in that game, right? We watched the Texans close as a 6-point home favorite to the Bears back in week 2. Then they look like they've never played football against a real defense in the Vikings last Sunday. Chicago is not better than Jacksonville, and Houston is not better than Buffalo. And yet here we are with a ton of line value at plus 6.5. And you know the public's going to continue to run to the window and bet Houston. But there's a reason why 6s are starting to show up in the market on the Jags here. It's a divisional game. Home field advantage is worth way less in divisional games. This is the kind of spot in which if Jacksonville playing for jobs and season and everything else, this is a game I would not shock me that they show up and that Houston is going to have to hold on for dear life to win this game.
And that's what it is, Joe. And that's why when we talked about it on Tuesday, following our doubleheader on Monday, Jacksonville probably not the same preseason expectation as the Bengals with a healthy Joe Burrow. They have played in each of his 2 fully healthy years in an AFC championship game and 1 Super Bowl appearance. But Jacksonville expected to rival the Texans atop the AFC South, the divisional champs from 2 years ago, and fumbling and stumbling down the stretch to allow Houston a chance at the divisional crown a season ago. So to start 0-3 since 2000, again, only 1 team, the 2018 Texans, in fact, have made the postseason, is damning for the Jaguars. But if they don't win here, it might be done. You might see Doug Peterson fired at some point midway throughout this season. You are certainly going to question Trevor Lawrence and if he deserved the big payday and raise this offseason. And I will just say this, right? Houston did not look good last week. They got routed in the Twin Cities against the Vikings. They were a short road favorite for that game in Minneapolis. If there is one blemish on C.J. Stroud's young career, it's his inability to cover numbers as a favorite. Now 3-7-1 are the Texans since the start of the C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans era as a favorite against the numbers. Joe, you provided this tidbit of information to me as we were discussing the game during the commercial break. We have yet to see a double-digit favorite throughout this NFL regular season. It is the deepest into an NFL regular season that has ever been the case. Could change, though, on Sunday in Santa Clara. The 49ers, a 10.5-point favorite against the Patriots. The over-under now up by a point to 40.5. Frankly, Joe, I understand on paper an expectation throughout the entirety of this year why the Niners are laying double digits, but based on these two teams entering, I don't know why the Niners are laying double digits.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy here. And to make it even worse for Patriot fans, the last time that they closed as a double-digit dog, you got to go back to week 3 of, you ready for this? 2001, when they played Peyton Manning and the Colts. It was Tom Brady's first career start in for Drew Bledsoe, and guess what? New England won 44-13. So there's history on both situations here where the market refuses to give us a double-digit dog, and yet here we, in all likelihood, are going to have one here. Kittle looks like he is trending to play, but Deebo Samuel McCaffrey not going to be in the game. So the question is, with a little extra time under their belt here, New England, do we have enough faith that they can keep this thing close on the road in Santa Clara? I wouldn't be running to the window to lay double digits in this market right now with this team.
I don't know how you could. What is the 10.5-point spread predicated on outside of the 49ers are good on paper, and we still think they're the favorites to win the NFC? Is it George Kittle's return? Christian McCaffrey's over speaking German to people trying to figure out what is happening with his Achilles tendonitis. Deebo Samuel is not going to play in this game. Brock Purdy was listed as day-to-day because of back soreness. Yeah, he's had to carry the team so far. Is it the emergence of Juwan Jennings? All to say, San Francisco should win this game and probably will do so rather comfortably. We saw the Patriots look way more competitive in the opening 2 weeks than we expected. Good luck running the football against the Niners, I guess, but Javon Hargrave, the anchor of the interior of that defensive line, is now out more than likely for the remainder of this season. I don't understand why the Patriots are getting 10.5 in this spot, and if they are by Sunday, I think you can take advantage of the first double-digit spread we are going to see throughout 2024. Not with an outright win, mind you, but maybe just the Patriots losing by a touchdown and keeping this game to a 10.5-point spread. I'm not going to call it. Certainly not going to say that, Ranieri. All right. NFC South
I'll
showdown.
just say this, though, Ben. I'll just say this.
Yeah.
Patriots' biggest dog week 1. They won outright against Cincinnati 16-10. The Raiders were the biggest dog in week 2 against the Ravens. They won outright. The Commanders last week were the biggest dog. They won 38-33 against Cincinnati. So we already had 3 of the biggest dogs on the board win outright the first 3 weeks. Could this be the 4th?
Woo. It is a good point. The Patriots have already taken advantage of being that 5.5-point underdog or greater. Now let's go to the NFC South showdown, in a good one between the two divisional frontrunners, despite the fact one team has a winning record and the other team has a losing mark to begin. This is going to be a good game, Joe, and I think will tell us a lot about both of these teams and their outlook, not just for Sunday, but the rest of the season. The Falcons, a 1.5 favorite, minus 130 currently on the money line against the New Orleans Saints. Total, only 42.5. Now, I feel foolish. I thought the Falcons would be a team entering this year you would look at and bet over. They are one of 8 teams at the end of 3 weeks that has been under in all 3 games. Of course, the Saints were an offensive juggernaut, scoring 91 points in their opening 2 games, only to put up 12 with just 1 touchdown last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you expect in Atlanta between the Falcons and the Saints?
So this was the first game that I bet on Monday for the week, Ben, and I took the under, and it was at 43.5. It's down to 42 now, and yes, I agree wholeheartedly with it there. Listen, the Eagles and Vic Fangio, we were talking about Clint Kubiak and his scheme, his blocking scheme on what we thought was a terrible New Orleans offensive line coming into the season, and yet they're dropping 40-plus points on everybody except last week and the Eagles, which took away their ability to get big yards on first and second down. How did they do that? well, they dropped 6 guys into the box and took away all of those passing lanes and the stretching of the runs that New Orleans was implementing. That's a blueprint now. And you've got an Atlanta defense that is going to be, or has already seen it now, and they have absolutely the pieces and have had success in being able to limit this. I think Atlanta and Philadelphia's defense are very similar. I think they also will have no problem causing issues with a lot of checkdowns for Derek Carr. The big plays, as far as I'm concerned, in this game, throw them out the window. I think this is going to be a 20-13 type of game. I don't think we get to 40 points with these two quarterbacks and these two defenses.
I like that, Joe. Some conviction. Very similar numbers in Las Vegas on Sunday. Yep. Do you feel strongly about this game as well between the Browns and the Raiders?
I would rather throw up than have to watch this game or bet this game. But if I was, do not sleep on the Raiders. In fact, I'd go Raiders team total over.
I have a different thought on that game, but I'm throwing up thinking about it. College football next.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Football Friday on the early line. And as always, a Football Friday means more than just the National Football League and a Sunday slate. It is a jam-packed and loaded Week 5 slate around college football with 4 ranked versus ranked matchups, the most in a single Saturday tomorrow in week number 5. And Joe, the game of the year in college football, at least up until this point, comes our way on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. It is number 4 Alabama and number 2 Georgia. The line is moving as of Thursday afternoon and now this Friday morning. Georgia still remains a road favorite inside Bryant-Denny. And again, it does bear repeating. It would be the first time that Alabama would be a home underdog, even if it's just catching 1.5 points and pretty close on the money line since November of 2007. Total on the rise as well. Upper 40s earlier in the week, now north of 50 at 50 and a hook. We've talked about this game earlier on Tuesday. Has your thought changed at all the day prior to we get underway in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, actually, my thought has changed because now that the line has dropped from 2.5 to 3, Ben, I've actually bet more on Georgia. That's exactly how this is going to work. I mean, listen, Georgia struggled against Kentucky on the road.
Yeah.
And of course, then they had the bye week, right? So we've watched what they dominated Clemson, and Clemson all of a sudden doesn't look all that bad, does it? Yeah, they looked really bad against that defense of Georgia here. Now, give credit to Alabama. I mean, Alabama's defense has been pretty decent. In fact, couple of 3 pretty decent passing teams that they pretty much shut down. The problem is they can't defend the run as well as Georgia can. And if they can't run on Georgia, then it's going to be a very long day, I think, for Milroe. I think Georgia clearly is the better defense. I think offensively, they're going to impose their will here. Too many ways to beat you for Georgia. At this number, Georgia on the money line all day long to get it done.
Completely agree, Joe. I still remain pretty steadfast in the idea that Georgia is a better football team. I think Alabama will be in the college football playoff. One of the great things about this game of the year, some might argue, well, the result doesn't matter then if both teams can get into the CFP. Malarkey. We enjoy the atmosphere, the excitement, and the significance of this game, and still might get to see 2 of the best teams naturally in the country play for a national championship when all is said and done, which was not the case last year for Georgia.
Right.
Because, Joe, since the end of 2020, the Bulldogs ended that season on a 4-game win streak. They have played 51 games, including those last 4 to end out 2020. They have won 49 of 51, 49 of 51, with their only 2 losses coming to this Crimson Tide team in the SEC championship. In fact, Alabama and Georgia have met more in postseason play since the 2021 season, 2 SEC titles, and of course a national championship game as well, than they have in regular season affairs. This just the 3rd regular season meeting since 2015. And oh, by the way, in that 2015 regular season matchup, UGA was also the favorite. Alabama has only been an underdog in total 5 times since 2015, 4 of the 5 against the Bulldogs. They're 3-2 straight up and against the spread in those games as an underdog. And Joe, you are correct that we have 2 really good defenses, 2 of the 10 teams around the country allowing less than 10 points per game. And you can look at Georgia in their last game on the road in Lexington and talk about their struggles offensively. They were outgained by the worst SEC offense, that is Kentucky. I still favor Georgia in this football game. All right, let's keep it rolling throughout the rest of the Saturday slate. A top 20 tilt in South Bend between Notre Dame and Louisville. Joe, as we look at this spread, it is near a touchdown in favor of the Fighting Irish. It was also near a touchdown, 6.5 in favor of Notre Dame last year on the road against a top 25 ranked Louisville team. And if you remember, the Irish kept it close against Ohio State. The next week, they won in dramatic comeback fashion on the road in Durham. Had to go to Louisville and play this game as well. We thought Notre Dame got their season back on track with the win over Riley Leonard and the Blue Devils. They got beat outright by the Cardinals. The only game Louisville has been an underdog under second-year head coach Jeff Brom, and they won outright. What are we going to see between these 2 top 20 teams on Saturday under the watchful eye of Touchdown Jesus?
Well, listen, Ben, I love this. Another one of these revenge games here. As we all know, Notre Dame got burned by Jeff Brom and the Cardinals last year. Why? Because Sam Hartman forgot what team he was playing on and threw 4 interceptions. But Louisville had dominated Hartman when he was at Wake Forest. So there was some history there where maybe maybe Louisville was in Hartman's head. The problem is Louisville did the same thing to Duke and Riley Leonard a year ago, won 23-0 there, went 9 of 23, and it was embarrassing. Does that correlate into another bad showing? I think it does, Ben. And here's the reason why. Louisville cannot rush the ball. They can't rush. You are not going to beat Notre Dame by trying to air it out against that defense and putting him in harm's way here. If they can't run, I think Rourke is in big trouble. I think the defense of Notre Dame is going to show up big here. I think they get the revenge. If you like Notre Dame, don't be weary of the 6.5, Ben. They're going to win and win rather easily.
That's how I feel as well, Joe. The reason that Louisville has been great this year, 3-0 straight up and against the spread, is because of Tyler Shuck, which is a really good thing. However, the big difference last year was the two-headed monster in the backfield of Jawar Jordan and Isaac Guerrero for the Cards. This year, they're going with Donald Chaney, the Miami transfer, who has not emerged as the lead back, and a couple of young freshmen. They barely ran it last week against Georgia Tech. Notre Dame has to play from in front. If you trust the right arm of Riley Leonard, it is going to lead you being screwed time and again. But if they can run the football against a good defensive front for the Cards, they are going to have success. I think they make good on winning a home game and covering for the first time this year. The two times they haven't against MAC opponents, at least Louisville is an ACC team. More from Saturday next.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Four ranked versus ranked matchups on our Saturday slate. A top 25 team in action on this Friday, and it's not even the best game in college football on this Friday night. All eyes will circulate on Piscataway, New Jersey. Let's go to another Big Ten bash, though. One of those 4 ranked versus ranked games we have tomorrow. It's a large spread. Number 9, Penn State. 17.5-point home favorite under the lights in what should be a raucous whiteout type atmosphere in State College against number 19 Illinois. 47.5 is that total. Joe, you see the total, you see the spread. 3 scores, less than 7 touchdowns. Can Penn State cover the number tomorrow night?
They are certainly capable of covering that number, Ben, but my fear is this Penn State defense isn't as good as people are giving them credit for. And I worry about that because is it me or is Illinois' Luke Altmaier basically decided he is going to give everyone the middle finger every week and say, oh, you don't believe I can do this, huh? Well, he has been pretty damn good. He was great in an impossible start in, Friday in Nebraska, right? Friday Night Lights in Nebraska, we go. Ends up getting it done when it mattered the most. I think Illinois' defense is certainly on par with Penn State. It would not shock me if we get way more points in this game than we think we are. Sure, Penn State can cover this number. Am I running to the window to back them to do it? Not from what I've seen from Penn State so far.
No. And they are a great favorite. When expected to win a football game under James Franklin, they often do and cover. Since the start of 2022, 19-5-1 against the spread. But how about those Burt Bielema boys for Illinois? I know it's Brett. I like to call him Burt. Bargeball, there is a reason they have been prolific as an underdog. 14-8 against the spread. 9 outright victories under Burt since the start of 2021. I would never recommend laying 17.5 against this Illini team who put together a masterful defensive performance, only allowing Nebraska 48 rushing yards a week ago. But there are advantages here for Penn State. I think Nicholas Singleton has a big day, over 86.5 rushing yards. Luke Altmaier has played efficient football. Connor Bazelak, a guy with a little bit of Big Ten experience from his days at Indiana, now the Bowling Green quarterback, went into State College, threw for more than 250, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and most importantly, Joe, was not sacked by Penn State. If they can keep Luke Altmaier upright, he has been very efficient this year, the only quarterback in college football with double-digit touchdown tosses and 0 interceptions. I think it's closer. I do think Penn State wins this game outright, probably even by double digits, but just wouldn't lay 17.5. Our fourth and final ranked versus ranked game, Joe, loses a little bit of the appeal that we thought it might have entering this week, as both teams got beat and pretty bad last week. Oklahoma State, close game, but they were a home pick'em against a Cam Rising-less Utah team and got ran all over by Mekhi Bernard. Kansas State suffered what many people have figured out. Late night in Provo is never easy. They got blown out 38-9 against BYU. 4.5, though, is the number this week in favor of the Wildcats. Joe, for two teams still looking to be in contention for the Big 12, and this is an important game. What gives tomorrow in the Little Apple?
That's a huge game, and I would have loved one of these two teams to actually have won last week because it would have made picking this game a lot easier, Ben. But the fact that both of them didn't show up and both of them looked pretty terrible while losing, Oklahoma State at home, Kansas State on the road, it makes this game a little bit more tricky here. The reality is this line opened up at 6. We're seeing 4.5 now. Oklahoma State's money has been coming in. Kleinman has been fantastic when it comes to off a loss in this spot here. They've handled Oklahoma State in the past, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I don't think we've seen Oklahoma State's best yet, namely Ollie Gordon, who is running behind the most experienced offensive line in the country, Ben, and he's only averaging 2.7 yards a carry. I do think that changes in this game. I also think Kansas State's inability to stop the big play is what's going to cost them this game and get Oklahoma State to win outright on the road in Manhattan.
K-State has not been nearly as good defensively as Chris Klieman teams of the past. Oklahoma State as a dog since 2021, 11-6 against the number, 9 outright victories. In that span, though, K-State has been good covering numbers in Big 12 play. More college football when Hour 3 starts next.